I was excited for today because of the top paper filter design I've been working on. But I pulled a smaller than normal Robusta shot. This one was just 7 grams, which actually fits in the 7-gram basket. I felt more comfortable with it because I have less headspace since I used the S-Works water distributor. It ended up with 19% extraction yield for a 1.6 shot ratio to 1, but it could have done a little bit better. I did a roast today using a lactic maceration green beans from Chromatic Coffee, and I roasted them longer than I normally do, like way longer, because usually yeasty beans end up going a bit longer before the first crack ends. So it actually took like 5 minutes for the first crack to end. So we're gonna see how they taste. They seem to look really dark relative to what I normally get, but I'll try to keep an open mind. Then a Decent Espresso asked me to do a couple more tests because I was complaining about the water dispenser. So this test is at 90 degrees Celsius at 4 milliliter per second flow. I don't know, I think it comes out a little uneven. So then I did another test at the same setting, and I ended up doing 3 more tests, but I didn't really like how, the start of it is a little uneven, and the problem is a small unevenness at the beginning kind of sets off a snowball effect later on because of how extraction works, and how when you extract higher in one spot, that's where you're going to end up with channeling. So then I did the same test. Then this one was 90 degrees C at 0.1 milliliters per second, because that's where I'm really having trouble at the low flow rate. So it was coming out, but it comes out a little gelted. And part of the problem with this test is that you're also contending with water tension, holding the droplets there. So it's challenging to see how much flow is actually coming out when it's in contact with other things. So then I turned it up to 96 Celsius because I wanted to see what a higher temperature profile would do. Now I usually run at 105 Celsius, but 96 is kind of like the accepted temperature max of espresso machines. So again, this has some, it's kind of jolted and uneven. Now it looks like it's coming more out of the right, but there's some issues. So then I just increased the flow rate here to 1 milliliter per second to see how that would do. And it seemed to, have different problems. So it's just interesting to explore the machine in this way, and it's a useful test you can do on your own at home with a slow motion camera. So I went to a little bit lower temperature because I wanted to get to a profile that other people would be able to use easily. So I still had good extraction yield. I still was at about 19% extraction yield at 17% TDS. So it's a really tight ratio and a really high extraction. But I still saw some effects that I was like, what's going on there? So in this case, it's hard to see, but there is a bunch of side channeling. It's going blind. So when looking at the puck, the middle of the puck is darker, while the sides are lighter, which means that the sides extracted more than the middle. And I started thinking about the temperature of the basket. And when we think about side channeling, we think about the friction of water going against the basket, and maybe that's what causes side channeling. But I wonder how much of side channeling is caused by temperature. Because as the hot water goes in, it heats up the metal far faster than the coffee, and as a result, the coffee next to the metal gets heated up a lot faster. And from experiments, we know that the hotter the coffee is, the higher it extracts, which means that if you have hotter coffee in the sides and the middle, the sides will extract faster and you'll start this chain reaction. So I took this 20-minute video and I compressed it here to show the temperature of the basket in the center and the outside. And you can see the center is always at a lower temperature than the outside. And you don't lock in your basket for that long, but part of my question is, if you lock in your basket, there's definitely a difference between like 1 minute and 2 or 3 minutes of keeping a basket locked in or using it immediately. So I pulled another shot. This shot had the basket locked in for 4 minutes before. It pulled much more out of the center than before, but and it had about the same or slightly lower extraction yield at I think it was just over 18%. And the puck looked fine, except I ran out of that coffee, so now I have to restart in some of these experiments. So I pulled one more shot today of newer coffee. This is coffee that's about 2 weeks old. So I humidified it for a week and then let it sit for another week because I've been going through other coffees. And I blocked in the filter and went. I extended steam pre-infusion by 2 seconds, but I still ended up with a good chunk of side channeling. So I'm trying to figure out maybe if there's a better way to modify the paper filter to help reduce that. And I wonder if shrinking the paper filter would help that or not. But I'll have more tests coming up, and I feel like I'm definitely in the range where I can get back to comparing this machine against the Kim Express.